Grandma Vivienne's not coming to the barbecue anymore, my cousin Jasper announced to the entire family gathering, pointing at the memorial photo I'd placed on the picnic table. Dead people don't get to ruin our good time. That's when my grandmother's voice recording device, hidden inside the frame, started playing back everything they'd been saying about me for the past hour. The silence that followed was deafening, but their faces, when they realized I was standing right behind them? Priceless. Let me tell you, I never thought a family barbecue in the suburbs of Millbrook would end with 3 people storming off, 2 others in tears, and my own mother refusing to look me in the eye. But sometimes the dead have a way of speaking louder than the living ever could. It was supposed to be my grandmother's memorial celebration. Vivienne Margaret Thornfield had passed away 6 months earlier on a quiet Tuesday morning in March, and the family had finally decided to gather at my Uncle Sebastian's sprawling house on Maple Ridge Drive to honor her memory. I'm Celeste, by the way, Celeste Aurora Winters, and at 32, I thought I'd seen enough family drama to last a lifetime. Working as a marketing coordinator for a tech startup in downtown Millbrook had taught me to navigate difficult personalities, but nothing prepared me for what was about to unfold in my own family's backyard. The plan was simple. Bring Grandma Vivienne's favorite foods, share stories, and celebrate the woman who held our chaotic family together for 7 decades. I'd been planning this memorial barbecue for weeks, coordinating with everyone from my scattered relatives across 3 states, making sure we had her famous honey-glazed cornbread recipe, her beloved lavender lemonade, and even ordering a custom memorial photo in a beautiful hand-carved oak frame that reminded me of the jewelry box she kept on her dresser. Grandma Vivienne wasn't just my grandmother. She was my anchor. When my parents went through their messy divorce when I was 15, I spent entire summers at her little cottage on Willowbrook Lane. She taught me how to make her secret ingredient chocolate chip cookies, how to tend to her prize-winning rose garden, and most importantly, how to stand up for myself when the world tried to make me feel small. She had this way of looking at you, really seeing you, that made you feel like you were the most important person in the universe. After she passed, I was devastated. The funeral had been a blur of distant relatives I barely recognized, fake sympathy, and everyone arguing about her belongings before we'd even left the cemetery. It felt wrong, rushed, like we never properly said goodbye. That's why I wanted this memorial barbecue to be perfect, a real celebration of who she was, not just another family obligation. I'd driven 3 hours from my apartment in downtown Millbrook to Uncle Sebastian's house in the Riverside Heights neighborhood, my car packed with decorations, photo albums, and that special memorial frame. I'd spent weeks collecting family photos of Grandma Vivienne, scanning them and creating a beautiful collage that showcased her life. Her wedding day to Grandpa Theodore in 1962, holding my father as a baby, teaching me to bake in her kitchen, laughing at family Christmas dinners, tending to her garden just months before she passed. The memorial frame itself was gorgeous, solid oak with intricate carvings around the edges that I'd found at an antique shop in Old Town Millbrook. It was expensive, probably more than I should have spent on my coordinator salary, but it reminded me so much of the vintage furniture Grandma Vivienne loved. What made it even more special was the voice-activated recording device I'd hidden inside. Now, before you think I was planning something devious, let me explain. The recording device was actually a gift idea gone wrong. 3 months after Grandma Vivienne passed, I'd been struggling with the fact that I was starting to forget the sound of her voice. You know how that happens? You remember everything else about a person, but their voice starts to fade first. It was breaking my heart. So I bought this small, high-quality voice recorder with the intention of asking family members to share their favorite memories of her, recording their voices, telling stories about her laugh, her sayings, the way she used to sing while cooking. I wanted to preserve those memories, create an audio scrapbook of sorts that I could listen to whenever I missed her. The recorder was tiny, about the size of a silver dollar, and could be activated by voice or set to continuous recording. I'd carefully mounted it in the back of the memorial frame, completely hidden behind the photo collage, planning to record everyone's stories and reminiscences during the barbecue. I thought it would be beautiful, all these loving memories captured forever. What I didn't expect was to arrive early and overhear what my family really thought about me when they assumed I wasn't around. I'd pulled into Uncle Sebastian's circular driveway at exactly 2:30 p.m., 30 minutes before the official start time. The August sun was blazing, and I could already smell the charcoal heating up in the backyard. Sebastian's house was one of those impressive suburban homes with perfectly manicured lawns, a 3-car garage, and the kind of outdoor entertainment area that screamed successful insurance broker, which he was. I grabbed the memorial frame for my passenger seat along with a cooler full of Grandma Vivienne's lavender lemonade that I'd spent all morning perfecting. The recipe had taken me 4 attempts to get right. She never wrote anything down, just cooked by feel and memory. But I was determined to honor her properly.
Walking around to the backyard, I could hear voices and laughter coming from the patio area. Uncle Sebastian had really gone all out. There were white paper lanterns strung between the oak trees, a long buffet table covered with a checkered tablecloth, and even a small tent set up in case of rain. The family was already gathering. My cousin Jasper was manning the grill, my Aunt Patricia was arranging flowers, and I could see my mother Linda sitting in a lawn chair, already working on her second glass of wine. I approached the main picnic table where I planned to display the memorial frame. It was the perfect spot, right in the center of everything, where everyone could see Grandma Vivienne's photos and share their memories. I carefully positioned the frame, making sure the hidden recorder was activated and ready to capture all of the beautiful stories I was hoping to collect. "This looks perfect," I murmured to myself, adjusting the angle so the late afternoon sun wouldn't create a glare on the glass. The photo collage had turned out even better than I'd hoped. Grandma Vivienne's smiling face looked out from dozens of captured moments, surrounded by images of the family she'd loved so much. That's when I heard my mother's voice carry across the yard. "Well, at least Celeste showed up on time for once," Linda said to my Aunt Patricia, who was arranging daisies in mason jars nearby. "Though knowing her, she'll find some way to make this whole thing about herself." I froze, my hand still on the memorial frame. They didn't know I was there. I'd approached from the side gate, and they were facing away from me toward the house. "Oh, she will," Patricia replied with a laugh that had an edge to it. "Did you see that Facebook post she made last week about missing Vivienne? So dramatic. My heart is broken. I miss her every day. Like she was the only one who loved her." My stomach dropped. I'd posted that status on what would have been Grandma Vivienne's 79th birthday. It wasn't for attention. I was genuinely struggling with grief, and writing about it helped me process the loss. But they weren't done. "Celeste always acted like she was Vivienne's favorite," my mother continued, taking another sip of wine. "But where was she when Mom actually needed help? I was the one driving her to doctor's appointments, managing her medications, dealing with all the practical stuff." This wasn't true. I'd visited Grandma Vivienne every other weekend for the 2 years before she passed, helped her with grocery shopping, spent countless hours just sitting with her and listening to her stories. But I lived 3 hours away and had a demanding job. I couldn't be there every day like my mother, who was retired and lived only 20 minutes from Grandma Vivienne's cottage. "And now she wants to play the grieving granddaughter," Patricia added. "I bet she's going to cry through this whole memorial and make everyone uncomfortable." My cousin Jasper, who was flipping burgers at the nearby grill, chimed in without even looking up. "Celeste has always been the family drama queen. Remember her college graduation? She gave that whole speech about how Grandma Vivienne inspired her, like she was accepting an Oscar or something." They all laughed. My face was burning with embarrassment and hurt, but I couldn't move. I felt like I was watching a car accident. Horrible, but impossible to look away from. "The worst part," my mother said, lowering her voice conspiratorially, "is how she acts like she's so independent and successful now. Marketing coordinator." She said it like it was a joke. "She makes $38,000 a year and acts like she's running a Fortune 500 company. Actually, I made $45,000, but who is counting?" And that apartment she's so proud of, it's basically a glorified studio in the worst part of downtown Millbrook, but she posts pictures like she's living in some luxury penthouse. My apartment was small, yes, but it was in a safe neighborhood, and I'd worked hard to make it beautiful.
I'd saved for months to afford the security deposit and first month's rent. It represented my independence, my ability to take care of myself after years of struggling to find my place in the world. And that probably spent her entire paycheck on whatever elaborate thing she's planning for today, Jasper said, still focused on the grill. You know how she is, always trying to prove something. I looked down at the memorial frame in my hands. It had cost me $180 plus another $50 for the professional photo printing. It was a lot of money for me, but I thought it was worth it to honor Grandma Vivienne properly. Speaking of which, where is she? My mother asked, glancing around. She said she'd be here by now. Probably making some grand entrance. You know, Celeste, everything has to be a production. That's when I decided I needed to get away from this conversation before I either burst into tears or said something I'd regret. I quietly walked back toward my car, thinking I'd get the cooler of lemonade and give them a few minutes to finish their character assassination.
But as I reached my car, I realized I'd left the memorial frame recording device activated. It was sitting right there on the picnic table, capturing every cruel word they were saying. Part of me wanted to march back there and shut it off, but another part of me, the part that was deeply hurt and increasingly angry, decided to leave it running. I spent 10 minutes sitting in my car trying to compose myself. I kept thinking about all the times I'd driven 3 hours just to spend an afternoon with Grandma Vivienne, all the ways I'd tried to stay connected with this family despite living further away, all the effort I'd put into making this memorial perfect. And this was what they really thought of me? When I finally walked back to the backyard with the cooler, more family members had arrived. My brother Derek was there with his wife Madison, my cousin Sloan had driven up from Riverside, and even great-aunt Cordelia had made the trip from Oakville. Everyone was mingling, laughing, sharing hugs, and catching up. For a moment, I felt hopeful again. Maybe what I'd overheard was just idle gossip, the kind of thing people say without really meaning it. Maybe once we started sharing memories of Grandma Vivienne, the real purpose of this gathering would take over. I set up the lemonade station and started greeting everyone, accepting condolences and compliments on the memorial display. Several people commented on how beautiful the photo collage was, how much work I must have put into it. My cousin Sloan even teared up looking at a picture of Grandma Vivienne teaching her to knit. This is exactly what she would have wanted, Uncle Sebastian told me, squeezing my shoulder. A real celebration, not just another sad funeral. For about an hour, everything seemed perfect. We shared stories, laughed about Grandma Vivienne's quirky sayings, and even sang her favorite hymn together. I started to think maybe I'd been too sensitive earlier, that I'd misunderstood the context of what I'd overheard. Then, I excused myself to get more ice from the cooler in Uncle Sebastian's garage. That's when I heard them again. As I walked around the corner of the house, I could hear a cluster of voices near the memorial table. I slowed down, something in their tone making me cautious. Seriously, though, we need to talk about Celeste. This whole martyred granddaughter act is getting old. My brother Derek was saying, "Tell me about it," my mother replied. "Did you see how she positioned that frame right in the center of everything, like it's some kind of shrine? It's excessive." My heart sank. They were talking about the memorial I'd worked so hard on, the tribute I'd thought was beautiful and appropriate. And that speech she gave about Grandma's lavender lemonade recipe? Like she's the keeper of family traditions now. Please, I've been making that lemonade for years. This wasn't true. Madison had been in the family for 3 years and had never shown any interest in Grandma Vivienne's recipes before today. "The whole thing feels performative," Patricia said, "like she's trying to prove she loved Vivienne more than the rest of us." Jasper's voice carried over from the grill area. "You want to know what I think? Celeste peaked in high school. She was valedictorian, got into that decent college. Everyone thought she was going to be something special. Now look at her. Living alone in a tiny apartment, working a nothing job, no boyfriend, no real friends. This family is all she has left." The words hit me like a physical blow. Yes, I was single. Yes, my social circle was small. But I'd chosen to focus on my career and personal growth rather than settling for relationships that didn't fulfill me.
I was proud of my independence, even if it sometimes felt lonely. It's kind of sad, actually, my mother said, and I could hear the false sympathy in her voice. She's 32 years old and still trying to be the family favorite, still competing for attention like she's a child. Well, she's not getting it from me, Derek announced. I'm tired of pretending her little projects and gestures are impressive. This memorial thing, it's nice enough, but let's not act like she's single-handedly organized some kind of masterpiece. Exactly, Jasper agreed. And honestly, thank God Grandma Vivienne is gone, because now maybe Celeste will stop using her as an excuse to insert herself into every family event. Oh, Grandma would have wanted this. Grandma would have loved that. We get it, Celeste. You miss her. We all do. But life goes on. That's when Jasper said the words that would change everything. Grandma Vivienne isn't coming to the barbecue anymore. Dead people don't get to ruin our good time. He was pointing directly at the memorial frame as he said it, laughing like it was the funniest thing in the world. Several other family members chuckled along. And that's when the voice recorder, hidden inside the frame, activated. Celeste always acted like she was Vivienne's favorite, but where was she when Mom actually needed help? My mother's voice rang out clearly through the tiny speakers. And now she wants to play the grieving granddaughter, came Patricia's voice next, crystal clear and unmistakably hers. I watched as faces went white, as people looked around frantically trying to understand what was happening. Celeste has always been the family drama queen, Jasper's own voice played back to him, followed by everyone's laughter. That's when I stepped out from behind the garage, ice bag still in my hands, and walked slowly toward the group. Every single pair of eyes turned to me, and I could see the exact moment each person realized what had just happened.
The memorial frame, Grandma Vivienne's memorial frame, had been recording everything they'd said about me for the past hour. Well, I said, my voice surprisingly steady as I set down the ice and looked around at my family's horrified faces. I guess Grandma Vivienne had something to say after all. The silence that followed was deafening. You could have heard a pin drop in that backyard. Even the cicadas seemed to pause their summer song. My cousin Sloane was the first to find her voice. Celeste, we didn't know that I could hear you, I interrupted, walking closer to the memorial table. Or that Grandma Vivienne could? I reached over and gently touched the oak frame, and as if on cue, more audio began playing. She probably spent her entire paycheck on whatever elaborate thing she's planning for today. You know how she is, always trying to prove something. Jasper's face had gone from pale to bright red. He was staring at the grill like he wished he could disappear into it. This whole martyred granddaughter act is getting old, Derek's voice chimed in next. My brother actually took a step backward, as if distance could somehow undo what everyone had just heard. But the recording device wasn't finished. It had been running for over an hour, capturing everything, and now it seemed determined to play back every cruel comment, every dismissive laugh, every moment of the character assassination I'd been forced to overhear. Thank God Grandma Vivienne is gone, because now maybe Celeste will stop using her as an excuse to insert herself into every family event. That was Jasper again, and this time there was no mistaking the cruelty in his words. Several family members, including Great Aunt Cordelia and my young cousins, looked genuinely shocked. I stood there, in the center of it all, next to the memorial I'd created with so much love, and felt something shift inside me. The hurt was still there, sharp and deep, but it was being joined by something else. Clarity. These people, my family, had spent the entire afternoon making fun of me, dismissing my grief, mocking my efforts to honor our grandmother, and treating me like some pathetic charity case. And they'd done it while standing next to her memorial at a gathering I'd organized to celebrate her life. I think, I said quietly, my voice carrying clearly in the stunned silence, this memorial barbecue is over.
And with that, I carefully picked up the oak frame, cradled it against my chest like the precious thing it was, and walked toward my car. Behind me, I could hear the chaos beginning to erupt. Voices raised in panic, people calling my name, the sound of my family finally realizing that their words had consequences. But I didn't look back. I had everything I needed: the truth and Grandma Vivienne's final gift to me, the courage to stop accepting less than I deserved, even from family. Especially from family. The drive home from Uncle Sebastian's house was the longest 3 hours of my life. Not because of traffic or distance, but because my phone wouldn't stop buzzing with notifications. Text after text, call after call, my family in complete panic mode trying to manage the fallout from what they now realize was the most catastrophic family gathering in Thornfield history. I'd made it exactly 4 blocks from Maple Ridge Drive when the first text came in. Linda, Mom, Celeste, please come back. We need to talk about this. I didn't respond. 2 minutes later, Patricia, that recording was taken out of context. You're being dramatic. Derek, sister, this is ridiculous. Come back so we can explain. Jasper, Celeste, seriously? You recorded us without permission. That's probably illegal. I actually laughed out loud at that last one. Jasper was worried about legal issues after spending an hour trashing me at my own grandmother's memorial. By the time I reached the highway, my phone had received 17 messages and 6 missed calls. I pulled over at a gas station in Brookfield and finally looked at the chaos unfolding in my notifications. Sebastian, Celeste, the family is very upset. Please call me. Madison, we all say things we don't mean sometimes. This doesn't have to ruin everything. Sloan, I'm so sorry you heard all that, but you have to understand, people were just venting. Venting. They called it venting. But the message that made me realize how deep this went came from my great-aunt Cordelia, Grandma Vivienne's sister. Sweetheart, I had no idea they felt this way about you. What they said was cruel and wrong. Your grandmother would be heartbroken. Cordelia was there. She'd heard everything with fresh ears, and her reaction told me I wasn't overreacting or being dramatic. What had happened back there was genuinely awful. I turned off my phone and drove the rest of the way home in blessed silence, the memorial frame safely secured in my passenger seat. When I finally reached my glorified studio apartment in downtown Millbrook, the one my family loved to mock, I carefully placed Grandma Vivienne's memorial on my kitchen table and just stared at it. The late evening sun was streaming through my windows, illuminating her smiling face in the photo collage, and for the first time all day, I felt at peace. That's when I made the decision that would change everything. I turned my phone back on and opened my contacts. One by one, I started making calls, but not to my family. I called the grief counseling center where I'd been attending support groups since Grandma Vivienne passed. I called my best friend from college, Maria, who lived in Seattle and had always told me my family didn't deserve me. I called my supervisor at work, who had given me bereavement leave and had always been supportive. What I discovered over the next few hours of conversations was that everyone in my real support network had noticed how my family treated me. They'd seen the pattern that I'd been too close to recognize. The constant criticism disguised as concern, the way they dismissed my achievements, how they made me feel guilty for living my own life 3 hours away. Celeste, Maria said during our 2-hour phone call, I've been waiting 5 years for you to see what the rest of us could see. They don't treat you like family. They treat you like a convenient target. Yesterday was supposed to be a celebration of my grandmother Vivienne's life. Instead, it became a revelation about how some people show their true character when they think no one is listening. Grandma Vivienne taught me that family isn't just about blood relations. It's about love, respect, and support. Some of you forgot that lesson yesterday. To those who stood by and said nothing while others mocked my grief and efforts to honor our grandmother, Your silence was noted. To those who actively participated, your words were recorded and will not be forgotten. I will not be attending future family gatherings where my presence is clearly unwanted and my contributions are mocked. Grandma Vivienne deserves better, and so do I. I included 3 photos, one of the beautiful memorial frame, one of Grandma Vivienne's garden that I'd helped her tend for years, and one of us together from last Christmas, both of us laughing at something silly. Sebastian, Celeste, take this down immediately. You're embarrassing the entire family. Derek, this is social media drama at its worst. Handle this privately. Patricia, you recorded us without consent and now you're publicly shaming us? Linda, Celeste Aurora Winters, remove this post right now. I left the family group chat. Over the next few days, the responses became more desperate and revealing. Some family members tried gaslighting me, claiming the recording was misunderstood or taken out of context. Others attempted guilt trips, saying I was destroying family unity over one bad afternoon. But the most telling responses came from those who tried to turn themselves into victims. Jasper actually posted his own Facebook status, claiming I had illegally recorded private conversations and was trying to destroy family relationships over minor disagreements. I want you to explain to me why you think it's acceptable to air our family's dirty laundry on social media like some kind of reality TV drama queen. I want you to explain to me why you think it's acceptable to mock your own daughter at your mother's memorial. She actually rolled her eyes. Oh, please, we were just talking. You're blowing this completely out of proportion. Just talking? You called me the family charity case. You said I was trying to be the grieving granddaughter like it was an act. You laughed while Jasper said, "Thank God Grandma was dead so I'd stop honoring her memory." People say things when they're stressed, Celeste. It doesn't mean anything. That's when I understood the fundamental difference between us. To her, cruel words were just stress relief. To me, they revealed character. It means everything to me, Mom, and it would have meant everything to Grandma Vivienne. You're right, Grandma Vivienne is gone. But you know what? She left me something more valuable than anything else in her will. What's that supposed to mean? She left me her voice, and now I finally know how to use mine. I closed the door. Most importantly, I took the memorial frame to a professional framing shop and had it sealed, the recording device still inside. I placed it on my mantle where Grandma Vivienne's smiling face could watch over my apartment, my beautiful, independent, peaceful apartment that I'd worked so hard for. 6 months later, I got promoted to senior marketing coordinator with a significant raise. I started dating a wonderful man named Christopher, who'd never met my family and didn't need to. I joined a hiking group, took a pottery class, and discovered that I was actually quite social when I wasn't constantly defending myself from people who were supposed to love me. But here's what they still don't understand. I didn't record them to trap them. I recorded them by accident while trying to preserve loving memories of my grandmother. They trapped themselves with their own words, their own choices, their own character. Grandma Vivienne used to say, "People will show you who they are if you pay attention, sweetheart. When they do, believe them." That barbecue was the last time I ignored that wisdom. Now when people ask me about my family, I smile and talk about Great Aunt Cordelia, who sends me care packages and calls every Sunday. I talk about my chosen family, friends who celebrate my successes, support me through struggles, and would never mock my grief at a memorial service. As for the rest of them, they're not my family anymore. They're just people I used to know, who happen to share my DNA. And you know what? My life has never been better. The memorial frame still sits on my mantle, Grandma Vivienne's voice recorder still hidden inside, a reminder that sometimes the dead have the loudest voice, not because they can speak, but because they teach us, finally, how to hear the truth. Sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is the permission to walk away from people who don't value you, even when those people are family. Especially when those people are family. What would you have done in Celeste's situation? Have you ever discovered what people really think about you when they thought you weren't listening? Share your story in the comments below.